playing with confidence. Serves it inside 50.
Inside 50, good hands.
Drilling it into centre half forward. That was end-to-end football at its best.
Back-to-back goals either side of quarter time.
They have done it, the Bulldogs!
I'd find somebody for you. There ain't no wall I would run through. In your corner when they're ringing the bell. Come hell or high water. I'd find somebody for you.
Yes, g'day WAFL fans. Welcome one and all to another edition of Around the WAFL, our Monday night recap show, and we're off the back of another exciting weekend of WAFL and WAFLW football. One that was as dramatic as anything, and a round that has shaped up the finals race to one extent, but not really to the extent of some fans were anticipating, because it is still a very open finals race. We're here to recap round 13 of the Sullivan Logistics WAFL Premiership season and round 14 of the ATCO WAFLW Premiership season, and of course look at the ladders and the Player of the Year votes. But of course, on a Monday, I can't do it without this man. He is back after a couple of Mondays off. We've missed you, Ethan Roth. Welcome back, mate.
Thanks, Paul. Great to be back. And as you mentioned, a few close results this round across the WAFL and WAFLW, but some also results where sides gained a bit of separation as well. So looking forward to unpacking it all today.
It certainly is going to be a big round to unpack. And of course, our top three plays of the week, the highlights of this weekend. And one of them involves this man, courtesy of a kick from about 65 metres out. Thank you, mother, for the Rabbits. That was a fine goal, no doubt about that. We've switched the format around a little bit because of guest timing and all that sort of stuff, but you'll still get the same great recap and insight from us two fair blokes here on Around the WAFL, with all great information on WAFL and WAFLW. It's all thanks to our fine folks at Sullivan Logistics, proud supporters of WAFL 2026, also Front Row Screens, District Promotions and Grant's Car Stereo. And we're kicking off with some WAFLW this week because the big story in the competition this year is not just Swan Districts and Claremont. It's the Perth Football Club. In just their second season in the ATCO WAFLW competition, they are on the verge of a possible spot in the finals in their second year and under a coach with premiership experience. As you know, she was the coach of East Fremantle during their premiership days, and she has gone over to Perth to make sure that the Demons are still on that level of success to get them into the realms of the likes of Swan Districts and Claremont in the four in August of this year. Her name's Steph Walding, and she's good enough to join us here on Around the WAFL to kick off proceedings on our Monday night recap show. Welcome to the show, Steph. Great to have you on board.
Thanks, Paul. Ethan, great to be here.
Great to have you on the show. Big win it was over East Perth on Saturday night, and a lot of fans have been asking me, can the Demons make the four? And I've often said they can. They've got the class. What do you reckon of this Demons side? In your first year as Demons coach, how have you found the season thus far?
Yeah, look, we're hopeful of getting to the finals. We've got a few more rounds ahead of us to see if we can get there. But yeah, it's been a bit of an up and down year. We started probably a little bit slow, just the team coming together. As you said, it's only our second year, so the team is still learning how to play together. New coach with me coming in and assistant coaches. So it took us a little while to hit our straps, and we did that probably mid-year, and we're in a good position at the moment, but we've got some really tough games coming up, so we'll see where that takes us, and hopefully the girls can get a few wins on the board and shake things up.
You must be pretty stoked with, I guess, the balance of the team at the moment. You've recruited well, but also some young players coming through, so that balance between youth and experience is really blending together. Yeah,
like the last probably, I think in round 9 we debuted 3 or 4 Rogers Cup players, it's been really great for us actually to have those young girls coming in, and we've got the experience of the likes of Evie Gooch and Caitlin Cox, who came in the off-season, Amy Trindade and Isla Bolden, still young players themselves, but brought some experience from the VFL. So we've got some good experience across all lines now, and I guess there's no excuses for us to play some good footy going forward, and we're hoping we can do that.
Molly Warner's been a player that has really stood out to me. She's really improved week by week as the number one ruck for the Demons side. How have you seen her development over the last 4 months of the season thus far?
Yeah, like Molly, I actually knew Molly when she was playing PFL down at Melville, and she's such a quiet, unassuming person. She doesn't like to talk much. She's very much an introvert. So to see her out in the footy field, and I think her development in the last 4 months has been really good. She's not only tall, so she's obviously getting to the ball really well, but now she's getting to more contests around the ground. She's getting into contested marking contests. She's kicking a lot more, so we're giving her that license to kick and not just be that ruck who everyone wants to get a handball receive off. Like, if she's got it, she can kick. So giving her that confidence to not only be a great ruck, but to get herself around the ground and provide us with some forward momentum, but also she gets back and defends really well now too. So she's still got a lot of development in her, but yeah, she's coming along really well.
Another player who's hard to look past, year number 2, been there since the start of last year, Isabella Shannon, 33 disposals, 3 goals the weekend. You cast your eye back as well against the Peel. She had 30 disposals and 6 goals. You must just sometimes think what she's doing is off the charts, and very fortunate to have a player of her quality.
Yeah, definitely. Like when Poppy Stockwell got drafted to Hawthorn mid-year, we thought, like, well, how are we going to... That was off the back of 7 goals, Poppy against West Perth, and like, how are we going to replace that? And, Isabella Shannon's just stepped into those shoes nicely, and, not only kicking goals, but getting touches. She's getting, both ends of the ground, contested marks. Other teams are really tagging her hard, and she's still able to get, 30-odd touches and 3 goals on the weekend with a really hard tag. And she's just such a lovely person, can play anywhere and happy to lead the team and do what's best for the team. And, I give her a bit of license. I just tell her to do whatever she wants, basically, because she does find the ball wherever she is. So I think, she can get that ball, get it going forward. And finishing, I think she only kicked a couple of goals last year. So for her to get a few bags is really great for her development. Hopefully some AFL clubs are watching her and seeing that not only can she get the disposals, which she was doing last year, but she's now finishing really well too. So hopefully there's a few eyes on her.
Got a good run so far at the moment, but your side faces the biggest test of your season at this point. You've got reigning premiers Claremont at Revo Fitness Stadium on Saturday. How do you intend to tackle this Claremont side? And of course, Claremont under another very professional coach in Jack Schwartz, so it might be a coach's battle on Saturday morning.
Yeah, Claremont, they're a hard one, aren't they? They've been up and about for the last 4 or 5 years now, and they're a really quality outfit. It's a really interesting question. How do you tackle? And I'd love if anyone can give me some tips, because they are a great team. Got a really great midfield. Jamie Harkin's obviously a standout in there, but they're really well drilled, well structured. Their handball chains are elite. So we actually play a very similar game style. They probably handball a little bit more than us, but we both like to get the ball on the outside. So it might be an interesting game this weekend to see who can get the ball and retain possession more, and that's what we'll be trying to do against them. And Jack's an interesting coach. We come up against each other a few times. He was coaching the year that I won the premiership when I was at East Freo, and he was at Claremont. So I do like that battle against him. He's a great coach, and I'll be interested to see what he brings out this week, if he does anything different against us, or he just sort of goes with a tried and tested method.
A finals quality clash awaits on Saturday. Steph, we really appreciate your time here on Around the Waffle. Congrats on the win on Saturday night, and all the best this weekend against the reigning premiers.
Thanks, Steph.
No worries. Thanks, gents.
Superstar coach Steph Walding joining us here on Around the Waffle, talking to us about that great win over East Perth. Very professional approach. I think she's got that same approach as Jack Schwartz. Coming from premiership experience at one club, she's gone over to another club to, get Perth to really where they're at right now, but going the level beyond that. Yeah,
you can't buy the experience that she comes in, and I think they've set up well, they've set the base well, and then for a coach to come in like her, and obviously, of course, still hard work to do, the platform's nicely set for them, and they've closed out games really well as well. There've been some games where, Subiaco comes to mind where they would hold on. They had one the other way against South Fremantle recently, which didn't go their way, but I think just their intent and their ability to play 4 quarters is a really improvement in 2026.
We'll break down Perth's win in a little bit more detail and all the other WAFLW games after the break here on Around the Waffle. It's all thanks to our fine supporters at Grant's Car Stereo, Sullivan Logistics, Front Row Screen Sport, and of course District Promotions. And of course, after the break, round 14 of the ATCO WAFLW season, broken down in full, and Rothy cast a Player of the Year votes, which is going to be of vital importance later on in the show. So stay tuned. Back after this.
Take it from me, great things happen at the Waffle.
Valentine rides and goals.
With free entry for kids, future stars on the ground, and a kick to kick at every break. The Waffle is where footy memories start and legends are made. Follow the Waffle on socials or get to a game.
Hey Siri, how to connect Bluetooth to Mac truck?
Sullivan 2, what's your position?
Just a midfielder, mate. On your left. Oh, come on, get out of the way.
Car Stereo Morley, proudly supplying and fitting quality car stereos for over 15 years, selling top name brands like Alpine, Focal, Rockford Fosgate. From a simple upgrade to complete custom systems, stop in and see Grant and the boys at 61 Russell Street, Morley, or visit us online at carstereo.com.au.
And you're back with us here on Around the Waffle. Paul Persick and Ethan Roth with you on YouTube and your podcast service. Hey, you can check us out as well on our Facebook and Instagram for all your social content. Let's get right to it, Rothy. Round 14 of the ATCO WAFLW season. A full recap of the action. We started off at Steel Blue Oval with Swan Districts and East Fremantle, and this one shaped up to be a close encounter, but it was a real fizzer. East Fremantle goalless until half-time, and Swan Districts, they got on with the business, winning by 27 points, 8-6-54 to 4-3-27. It was the usual suspects, Rothy, that really stood up. We expected the Swans to win, but we didn't expect how one-sided it would be.
Yeah, I was on the call for this one, and Swan Districts, they just looked a class above, but East Fremantle, they didn't do themselves any favours. I guess it was the next link in the chain they kind of failed with the ball movement, I guess, from one end to the other, and Swan Districts is set up so well anytime it would get past, really halfway. So, yeah, as you said, Jamie Henry, 35 disposals, 7 tackles. We said on the call, almost under par by her. Lofty stands that she set for herself. Jess Cox with 25 disposals as well, led the way in the midfield. And, they had some really good rebound, likes of Gemma Sly off half-back, and Tasman Barros even in the ruck, playing that second ruck role, show her athleticism, particularly early in the third quarter.
And it goes to show it's not all just Henry that plays that great team football for Swan Districts. That are the key contributors. And what really stood out watching the highlights was their forward pressure. They're not allowing East Fremantle to get the ball past halfway, and that pressure was rewarded with enforcing turnovers and getting scoreboard opportunities as well. And like you said, it wasn't just all Henry with Sly. Riley was sensational, though, kicking 3 behinds in the forward line, and Maguire and Sharp in tandem in the forward line, booting 2 goals each. So, the formula is starting to come back into gear after a couple of losses.
Yeah, Emily Maguire actually doubled her amount of goals in one game for the whole season. She only kicked 2 goals in a bit of an interrupted year leading up to this point, and then kicked a couple on the weekend. So hopefully that can, get her motoring. Not that, the team's really relying on her.
She's a more versatile player than some may think.
Yeah, she obviously likes to play deep forward, but takes a good mark and run and jump at the ball well, and is a fierce competitor. But the thing about Swan Districts probably compared to last year is if you shut down Maguire, and, then you've still got the likes of Sharp to deal with. And if you shut down Sharp, you've still got the likes of Taylor Edwards to deal with, who's leading the reigning Joanne's Huggins award winner. And then if you shut her down, you've still got Summer Yaron to deal with. And if you shut her down, then you've still got Chloe Riley to deal with. It just continues on and on and on. Absolutely. And they've got goal-kicking midfielders as well. Like Kira Force, 15 years of age, kicked a goal. And she's adding real consistency to her game. So they've just got so many options no matter where you look.
It's depth in volumes, isn't it, for Jason Burton's side? And no wonder they just keep racking up the wins. And if you shut down one, you got to deal with another. And East Fremantle, as you said, and I will agree, did not help their cause in the first half. They were, let's just say, subpar when going into that forward line. They only had 5 less inside 50s, but that doesn't really reflect how the game was controlled. Okay, you had Keeley in the ruck with 32 hit-outs, Colgate 20, but a lot of their more experienced stars didn't really stand up to the task. But they knew they were up against it, and they should have taken the game on with a little more ferocity. But David Eames, the coach, will know that his side still has a lot to learn. They're still in the 4 at this time, but they've still got a lot to learn when they take on the likes of Swan Districts and Claremont.
Yeah, and they are in the 4, as you mentioned there. And you thought there might have been a little bit of resurgence after halftime. Third quarter, they actually ended up winning that quarter, but I guess they left their run a little bit too late in the end. And Lara Fuller was a standout. She was actually the leading goal kicker on the day on the losing side. 3 goals at just 16 years of age. She's only played the 3 games, but she scored goals in every single game as a 16 years of age player. You can't really buy that. And it's pretty scary considering what she's been able to do so early on.
Bottom majors have stolen the show, in the last couple of weeks. We've seen a lot of great young talent from these two sides really shining. And, 15, 16-year-olds that are really establishing themselves as prime WAFLW stars.
Yeah, and I guess it doesn't take much. Sometimes you only need an opportunity to prove yourself. And, a lot of these players, we mentioned Fawcett and Fuller in that game, they're playing with maturity beyond their years, which is really exciting to see.
And that extra fire in the belly from last year, they'll still have that hanging, but when they keep racking up those wins, that fire just keeps on growing and growing, and it certainly extends to the results on the field. Well done to Swan Districts and well done to Subiaco, as well as we go to our next game at Lane Group Stadium. 30-point winners over Peel Thunder on Saturday, 10-5, 65 to 5-5, 35, and it was a Dara Kerr medalist, Rothy, back to her vintage best. That was the leading story of the match.
Yeah, 38 disposals to goal next to Crystal Petrevsky's name. So, outstanding performance. Had the midfield support of Steen and Shepherd as she typically does. But, Crystal Petrevsky, a standout player. And, she's still been in good form this year. Obviously, you can always compare back to a Dara Kerr year. But, she was back to her absolute best.
Yeah, she racks up, middle to high 30s, week in, week out. Obviously, since the state game, it's been a little bit up and down, looking at the numbers, going below 30 disposals, even going below 20 at some games this year. But regardless of the quality of the opposition, I always say, regardless of what opponent you take on, if you go back to your vintage best, whatever role you play, then you're going to be making a big statement. And Petrevsky did that, 38 disposals and 9 marks as well, including a goal, as you said, just incredible. But she had plenty of support. You don't just rely on one, you've also got to deal with the others, and that is Steen and Shepherd, the Subiaco big three. They gelled in what is very unpredictable conditions over there.
Yeah, it was always going to be a challenge for Peel Thunder, wasn't it, in their midfield, and those players just got on top in the end. I like the game of Annabelle Johnson as well, half-back, 13 disposals, 2 goals, and took the 3 marks as well. So she's been a player that's obviously been at AFLW level with Geelong and West Coast, and been a bit interrupted this year, but can't play a byplayer of her experience.
Yeah, and it's that versatile nature that she's got in her game. Annabelle Johnson, the 13 disposals. And you talk about a couple of those other players down the back line, Lindgren and Lee, all were terrific. And as you said, on the other side of the coin, it was going to be a real big challenge for Peel Thunder, but again, it was Chloe Wrigley that stood out, 27 disposals. If you're looking at players who are going to get Dara Kerr medal votes for Peel Thunder, if they do get any, Chloe Wrigley is going to get the most. There's no denying that, because she has been the number one for Peel Thunder all season. But the big problem is they're not supporting her enough. There's not enough depth to support Chloe Wrigley. But I will say this, they were brilliant after quarter time. They were held to just the one behind, but the way they fought and applied themselves to the contest after quarter time was something that the Peel coaching staff can hold their heads high on.
Yeah, and that's exactly right. Like, they might not have been able to win the game, but their fight is hard to look past. So, as we've sort of said for a little while, Chloe Wrigley, lone player there, but she obviously can't win the Dara Kerr medal. She was ruled out pretty early in the year, but for their best and fairest, I think she'd be certainly up there.
Cassie Davidson as well, we got to give props to her, 22 disposals and 5 marks. Definitely one of Peel's better players that, really showed their fight all throughout the game.
Yeah, absolutely, and that's what they need, more of the Thunder. So, I think they'll set themselves for another big game this week and try and get the chockies.
Absolutely, but a good win to Subiaco in the end. They keep their Final Four hopes alive, but only just as far as the ladder is concerned, which we'll show you a little bit later. The Demons, aren't they on a roll? They got themselves back to the Final Four after this weekend. They won quite convincingly by 39 points over East Perth, 9-9-63 to 3-6-24. And as we spoke about with Steph Walding earlier on in the show, it's the rising development of the younger players, Molly Warren in particular leading the charge. And you talk about the likes of Holly Britton also shining as well. She had another big haul of disposals, and Isabella Shannon, the Dara Kerr medal runner-up, showing that she could be going one step better come the awards night in September. Another 30 disposals in a dominant outing.
Yeah, she's really challenging Jamie Henry. Those two, probably separation between them and the next best players sky high at the moment. So 33 disposals, 3 goals, we've said, 7 tackles, so does it on the defensive end. And those recruits do well, but I think it's the players underneath that. So Alyssa Smogovic had 27 disposals in the end, 2 goals, hit the scoreboard. Another game into the likes of Jess Green as well up forward. So, they probably have got quite a big gap between those real experienced players at the top end and then the younger players coming through, but you wouldn't notice it at the moment.
Well, you wouldn't, because obviously it's very versatile. It's a very mobile lineup because of the experience and youth that they've got in their side. And when you're looking at the experienced faces, I think the one that has really stood out but has gone underneath the radar is Evie Gooch, the former Peel player. She's played her role at halfback magnificently and can rack up the disposals like she's playing in the midfield. And she had 7 tackles as well. She got involved in the coalface, and if you're willing to step up and play those second roles, along with your standard primary role as a key defender, then you've done yourself a great job. So Gooch has been very impressive, more high to the expectations for the Perth Football Club.
Yeah, absolutely. Former Docker, former Eagle, and experience hard to buy yet again. So she's lets her action do the talking off halfback.
Absolutely. East Perth, to their credit, like Peel, they showed fight, but they just didn't have enough of it, especially against a Perth side that had a lot more to play for in this game. But you can't take away anything from the likes of Brooke Edwards. Her effort was brilliant: 14 hit-outs and 13 disposals and a goal to boot. You also have Lucy Greenwood, who's leading the charge with 27 disposals and 19 for Cara Spryle. And obviously, she's alongside a lot of young players, but she's really showing them how it's done, and really acting as that mentor on the field for the East Perth side.
I'm sure the form that they're going through at the moment, East Perth, they'll be better for it long term. I think, they're grinding it out at the moment. They are doing it tough, but I think, we know that, they're still very new in this competition, and it can take a few years. I know that's not what they want to hear right now, but I think long term it's going to pay dividends. And I think particularly with someone like Greenwood, who's, was in her draft year last year, and she's carrying a bulk of that midfield. So, the experience that she'll gain from that, and, really playing above, what she should be doing really for a player of her age is worth its weight in gold.
And we're going back to that chat with Steph Walding earlier about asking her if Perth can make the four. I'll ask the same question to you. Can Perth make the four?
I think they can. Yeah, I think they can. Not sure they can do a heap of damage personally in August, but you only have to qualify, as we know, and sometimes you play with a bit of a free spirit that can bring the best out in you. So I think they can make the finals. I know a lot of people predicted that pre-season with what they were able to do last year, 3 wins in an inaugural season, and also the recruiting that they did. But we'll have to wait and see. Their ability to just stay in the moment is going to be really something they haven't had to deal with. So it'll be interesting to see how that sort of makes or breaks them.
I will agree with you. I reckon they can make the four. They've got, enough class to do so, but it's all about taking on the likes of Swan Districts and Claremont and really pushing them to the limit. And Perth have got Claremont this weekend, and who knows, I reckon they might mount a bit of a challenge to the Claremont side, but you never know. And try chasing the Tigers in dominant form at the moment, because that's where we're going to go with next. 78-point winners over West Perth at Revo Fitness Stadium on a bright Sunday afternoon, 12-8-80 to 1-6-12. It was just pure domination from Claremont from go to woe, and West Perth had no answer.
Definitely did not see this result coming in terms of the margin at all. I thought Claremont would win the game and be warm favourites, but they completely dominated West Perth. They piled on 80 points, and they restricted obviously West Perth to just the 1 goal in the end. So they were on right from the outset, and familiar names again. Harkin, Husband was really good in the ruck, 22 disposals, 29 hit-outs. Like the game of Georgia Webber as well. I think she's been a bit of an underrated player. I know we've sort of sung her praise a little bit on this show, but I think she doesn't probably get the plaudits that she deserves with some of those household names, but it's probably not the worst thing as well, being able to fly under the radar and just do your thing, let your footy do the talking.
One of them that really flew under the radar this season, but has really found her home as a key forward, Beck Anderson. She kicked 3 goals and was dominant, gave the West Perth backline a real hard time.
Yeah, she's up there, only behind Ash Sharp, I believe, in terms of goals kicked, and she was a player who sort of came in middle of last year and had a long-term injury which kept her out, but always been a talent and knows where the goals are as well, but it's what her ability to do the other stuff around the ground, be a chop out ruck and that sort of thing, where I think people are probably only just starting to notice her from an opposition perspective.
Tell me about one of the goals. Rachel Ortlip kicked a great goal earlier on in the game, and then the finger point celebration. That is something you don't see every day.
Not the first celebration that she's done this year, and might not be the last. She seems to like it, but obviously a footy backs it up as well. Multiple premiership captain, can do what you like when you've got the resume of her and a recent 150 gamer, but certainly got the juices flowing. And I mean, if you can do those celebrations and back it up how they did, I mean, I'm all for it.
Oh, absolutely. She backs it up on the field, no doubt about that. And Claremont certainly backed up their words with great action. West Perth, this was a game that they would rather forget, if I'm being honest. They knew that they were going to be up against a juggernaut in Claremont, but, not a lot went right for them. Nothing went right for them. They didn't get first to the footy. Okay, they had 5 less inside 50s compared to Claremont, but, when you're looking at the lineup, they got, okay, it's a young lineup and still, going through the turnover. Norbury, Bitterfeld, Vandenhever, Power, Robus, Sophie Fisher, who had 17, and Arabella Nelson, who had 17. They just didn't really click. They just did not really click, and the conditions were ideal as well.
Sometimes this can happen as well when players coming in and out of state 18s duties, and of course you're always going to welcome back a player like Arabella Nelson's quality and that sort of thing. But can't put it down to that. I think West Perth, we've sort of highlighted a bit this year, they are a bit up and down. They can be hard to read, and credit to Claremont, of course. But Sophie Fisher was their leading possession getter on the ground. Not really used to that, that, but credit to her for fighting out in the end. And just an off day completely for West Perth. They won't want to over catastrophize it a little bit at all, but I think you also got to highlight how well Claremont's team did, and to restrict, Huggett and a lot of the players as well for West Perth was pleasing for Claremont.
It was a case of, Claremont being too strong rather than West Perth being, I don't want to use the A word, but awful, because that's how it looked, as far as West Perth are concerned, because Claremont, polished side, a lot of experience, and obviously they're the reigning premiers for a reason. So a great win to Claremont, 78 points in the end over a disappointing West Perth. Ladder, after 14 rounds of competition, we have still got an incredible 5 rounds remaining. It is going to be 4 rounds remaining, rather, because it is going to be on for young and old come the finals time. Swan District's on top on percentage, still ahead of Claremont. East Fremantle are in third. Perth have made their way back into the 4 at the expense of South Fremantle, West Perth and Subiaco, who are just outside it by half a game respectively. And then East Perth and Peel Thunder rounding out the bottom half of the ladder. Okay, Rothy. Time for the votes, which does spring a little bit of importance on tonight's show, and we'll tell you why in just a moment. Rothy, poll them.
Yeah, so with 1 vote mentioned for East Fremantle, was the leading goal kicker on the ground, 16 years of age. Incredible stuff by Lara Fuller. She gets the 1 vote. Jamie Henry, she's been in the votes all year. She comes in with 2 votes, 35 disposals, as we mentioned there, and just got better as the game went on. 3 votes from Claremont. Matilda Husband, over 20 disposals, close to 30 hit-outs. Anytime you do that as a ruck, you've had a dominant day, and she's taken another step forward, and for an experienced player, which is she's added real strings to her bow. 4 votes. Reigning Dara Kerr medalist Crystal Petrovsky back to her best against Peel Thunder, complete domination, and hit the scoreboard as well, which is nice to see, because she can play a bit more of a defensive role at times, but she got snuck forward and hit the scoreboard. And then 5 votes, Isabella Shannon. How can you go past it? 30 disposals, 3 goals in the end, and it's very easy to see why there's people out there who think she's the best player in the competition.
I think many will agree with that statement. Isabella Shannon getting the top gun this week, but we go to the leaderboard, Rothy, and I believe you have something else to announce.
Yes, it's a great privilege on behalf of both of us that we already have our Player of the Year crowned in the WAFLW for season 2026. It's no surprise, out of the blocks early and just maintained it, record-breaking stuff left, right and centre, and Jamie Henry, that player is. So congratulations to her. She cannot be caught whatsoever.
A fantastic result for Jamie Henry and for Swan Districts. Congratulations, Jamie, the 2026 Around the Waffles WAFLW Player of the Year. 23 votes ahead of the nearest competition, Paige Shepherd, with 4 rounds remaining. Absolute domination from go to woe.
Yeah, not sure what she can do much more to get an AFLW opportunity, but Swans won't be complaining. They get her, at least for the foreseeable future, towards the back end of the year. And would not be surprised one bit if this is reflected in the Dara Kerr medal as well.
No doubt about that. There is still 4 rounds remaining, so voting will continue. And of course, medals for the Player of the Year. We've been able to put together some good medals courtesy of our friends at the Trophy Shop over in Wangara. So thanks to all the folks there at the Trophy Shop in Wangara constructing these medals. And of course, it'll be presented to Jamie Henry on the 15th of July during one of their training sessions down at Steel Blue Oval. And you'll get to see that moment on Facebook and on Instagram as well. We're going to put together something real cool for the fans and also for the Swan Districts Football Club. So well done to Jamie Henry being crowned the 2026 WAFLW Player of the Year with 4 rounds to go. That's WAFLW portion of the show completed. We're going to get into the WAFL after the break, but also Ethan's Colts report. Round 13 of the EGT WAFL Colts is under our belts, and we'll talk about that after the break. And also a chat with Peel Thunder coach Adam Reid, whose heart rate was racing, and maybe his hairline was receding after the performance of his Peel Thunder side against Claremont in that top of the table clash. And also our top 3 plays of the week, the highlights of the highlights. Stay where you are here on Around the Waffle. More to come after this.
Take it from me, great things happen at the Waffle.
Valentine rides and goals.
With free entry for kids, future stars on the ground, and a kick to kick at every break. The Waffle is where footy memories start and legends are made. Follow the Waffle on socials or get to a game.
Hey Siri, how to connect Bluetooth to Mac truck?
Sullivan 2, what's your position?
Just a midfielder, mate. On your left. Oh, come on, get out of the way.
Car Stereo Morley, proudly supplying and fitting quality car stereos for over 15 years, selling top name brands like Alpine, Focal, Rockford Fosgate. From a simple upgrade to complete custom systems, stop in and see Grant and the boys at 61 Russell Street, Morley, or visit us online at carstereo.com.au.
And you're back with us here on Around the Waffle for your Monday night recap show. Paul Persick and Ethan Roth bringing you all the action from the weekend. Adam Reid, the Peel Thunder coach, is on standby to talk about that thrilling win over Claremont, the top of the table clash. We're going to get to him in just a moment. But Ethan Roth, your Colts report first up. A full contingent of Colts action for round 13. And gee, there were a few crackers.
Yeah, started on Friday night at Lane Group Stadium. I was on the call for this one, and scrappy game. Claremont came through with the goods. They had 10 inclusions out there, and it worked wonders in the end. They won 5-17 to 5-8. Bit inaccurate in the end, but sometimes you just have to win ugly, which is what the Tigers did. Then moving our attention over to Saturday, it was Perth, who continued to just build this season. Obviously, they came off a surprise win over South Fremantle the week before, but they were able to back it up here with a 22-point win over the Royals, and great performance by them. South Fremantle, they did bounce back against Subiaco. That was much needed. They won by 15 points against Subiaco in the end, and had a stack of contributors there at Fremantle Community Bank Oval. Slow start to that one, but they worked their way into it towards the middle of the game. And then closing it out on Saturday night, I was on the call for this one as well. And West Perth, their second halves have been really impressive. They overrun Swan Districts, who started the game well, but it was West Perth, heard kids come back through PSA and also State 18's exclusions, who really got the job in the end. And the talent we know West Perth possessed really came off.
Yeah, superb win it was for West Perth to conclude the action. Speaking of the State 18s, they too had a pretty good weekend, winning against Victoria.
Both the boys and the girls did. So, record-breaking, really, win, particularly for the boys. It was the first time since 2019 they've won it at Marvel Stadium, which you cast your mind back, and some of the names that have come out of that draft crop for WA are doing wonders now in the AFL, and the girls were able to back it up the next day. So, really promising signs across the board for WA football at under-18s level. Yeah,
well done to the under-18s, boys and girls on the weekend. Superb stuff, and well done on your Colts report as well. Back in action once again. Okay. Waffle time now, and the Peel Thunder side, they stand alone at the top of the ladder, but on Saturday they searched for a riddle, and Aiden was the answer, kicking the match-winning goal after the siren. And we must spare a thought for the Peel Thunder coach as well. We could imagine his heart was racing at the final siren when Aiden Riddle was lining up for goal, and he joins us now to talk about that great win against Claremont. He stands alone at the top of the Waffle Mountain after 13 rounds. Adam, great to have you on the show this evening.
G'day, lads. Thanks for having me.
How's the heart rate now after some 48 hours after that amazing thrill ride in the last quarter when your side was 9 points down with a couple of minutes to go, and then Aiden Riddle bobbed up with a clutch mark and goal after the siren to win it?
Yeah, it's settled down, thankfully, back to its normal beats per minute. But, look, when we gave up that goal in our D50, I think it was the 24-minute mark, I thought we were probably shot, but to the boys' credit, they stuck to the plan and they were able to execute in those dying moments.
I reckon we want to follow up on something, because we had a chat during the pre-season, and this was highlighted so well in that last quarter to be a mentally tougher side than last year, and it really was evident in that last quarter. 9 points down, a couple of minutes to go, and your side just never gave up the fight.
Yeah, it was pleasing, especially, look, obviously early in the year we lost those two games by a point, and even our round 2 clash against Claremont, we went down by only 11 points. So we've been in some tight situations this year where we haven't quite been able to execute in those positions. So to be able to do it, and to do it against a really battle-hardened side like Claremont was incredibly pleasing.
Never in doubt, Aiden Riddle?
Well, he did miss one from closer earlier in the game, so I did speak to, as he took the mark, I said to Jeff Valentine, the bench coach, well, at least he's had a sider. And look, to his credit, watching him from the box, he stuck to his routine. He didn't change anything, and he was able to kick straight, which was great for him as well.
Pretty good week as well, coming off the back of a contract extension with Fremantle. And on that, there's been quite a bit of noise in recent times about, Peel Thunder and Fremantle's alignment, and I guess, people always have their opinion on it, but you must be really impressed with, I guess, the guys, whether it be the local guys or the Freo players, who just get on with business and stick together and, really just unite.
Yeah, look, it sounds cliche, but we try not to buy into the outside noise. We just focus on ourselves and doing what we can each day and each week to get better. And so, yeah, it's really pleasing. And I mean, look, from a local perspective at the moment, our depth is being tested. We've got quite an injury list. We've got a few guys that will be returning either this week or post our bye, which will be great for the back end of the season. But to see a few guys come in late on the weekend in Louis Colton and Josh Mathy and Taj Wybird, really pleasing to see them step into league footy and be a part of that win.
You had 4 outs in that game. Walters from injury, Nichols also with injury, and Tuia and Sharp with illness. Obviously, that could have been a big test to your depth with 4 high-quality players in the side, but you talked about those replacements, Colton and Wybird. They all really stood up to the task in their absence.
Yeah, and look, it was an unusual 24 hours leading into the game, right? So, again, bringing it back to we want to be a mentally resilient and tough team. Like, all of those things are distractions. So to be able to work through 4 late changes like that and to good personnel, guys that have Jeremy Sharp's obviously having a good season, and Scott Tuia, is one of our most consistent players, and Chuck's been duking him, and Ducky Walters showed some good touches early in the game against West Perth. So to be able to deal with those distractions and work through them and be able to come out and execute, that's a really pleasing part of the culture we're building.
You must be looking forward to the clash this week against East Fremantle, a side who have been able to, show that they're, up with the best teams this year. Been a bit inconsistent themselves, but no doubt they'll be bringing their best back at home this Saturday.
Absolutely. And credit to Bill and the coaching team and their leaders. At the start of the season, they were dealt some bad hands with injuries and whatnot. And I mean, round 1 we played them, and we were lucky to get out of that game. They were ultra competitive. They come out firing, and they lost Jack Avery in the first quarter that day, and they came back at us hard in the last quarter. And they've won some games here and there. They've been ultra competitive, and they're hard to beat at Good Grosser Park. I never take them lightly. I've got a lot of respect for, like I said, for Bill and their coaches and their leaders, their experienced players like Cam Erdley and Cole Baskerville and Harry Marsh and those guys that I've worked with in the state program. So we're going to have to be at our best, that's for sure.
Big game on Saturday over there at Good Grosser Park against the Sharks. Thanks for your time, Adam. Congrats on the win on the weekend as you and Peel Thunder stand alone at the top of the WAFL ladder. All the best, mate.
Thanks, fellas. Thanks for having me.
That was
Cheers.
Adam Reid, Peel Thunder coach, and of course the leading coach in town at the top of the ladder, joining us here after that win against Claremont. We'll recap that game in a little bit more detail after the break here on Around the Waffle. All thanks to the fine folks at Grants Car Stereo, Sullivan Logistics, Front Row Screen Sport, and of course the district promotions over at East Vic Park. And thanks to once again our friends at the Trophy Shop for helping us engrave and design our medals for the WAFL Player of the Year. Because as you heard moments ago, Jamie Henry won the WAFLW Player of the Year as well, with 4 rounds remaining. So stay where you are. Round 13 WAFL recap after this.
Take it from me, great things happen at the WAFL.
Valentine rides and goals.
With free entry for kids, future stars on the ground, and a kick-to-kick at every break. The WAFL is where footy memories start and legends are made. Follow the WAFL on socials or get to a game.
Hey Siri, how to connect Bluetooth to Mac truck?
Sullivan 2, what's your position?
Just a midfielder, mate. On your left. Oh, come on, get out of the way.
Car Stereo Morley, proudly supplying and fitting quality car stereos for over 15 years, selling top name brands like Alpine, Focal, Rockford Fosgate. From a simple upgrade to complete custom systems, stop in and see Grant and the boys at 61 Russell Street, Morley, or visit us online at carstereo.com.au.
And you're back with us here on Around the Waffle. Paul Persick and Ethan Roth with you as we recap round 13 of the Sullivan Logistics Waffle Premiership season. We start on Friday night, Rothy. It was a big first half between West Coast and East Fremantle. Sharks led by 2 goals. They had the experience of Harry Marsh back in the side, but then the Eagles, they clicked into top gear in the second half. They kicked an astonishing 11 goals to 3 and sewed up the game by 39 points. And it gives them a possibility of making the 5.
Yes, and it was a seesawing game, wasn't it? I think, East Fremantle got off the box early and you thought, oh, hold on, they're on here. But then West Coast, they got it back on their terms, certainly, and kicked goals in droves, really. Jamison with 4, Champion with 3, Johnston with 3, Brockman with 2, always with 2, Schoenberg with 2. So there was a lot of the AFL guys who really made their mark in terms of goal scoring.
They had 19 AFL listed players on the day, and they really made the most of those opportunities. You talk about those goal kickers. Hewitt was fantastic. Flynn continues to, really push his claim for an AFL recall. Many are saying that he's still a player at WAFL level, but you have 52 hitouts against the likes of Luke Stranatic, and you overwhelmingly beat him in that one-on-one ruck contest. You've had a good night. Clay Hall, we've sung his praises week in, week out. Impressive player. And Finley McRae, I thought that was his best performance. Okay, he didn't have anything beyond the 30 disposals that he had, but the way he used the football out of the centre clearance was just brilliant.
He adds great depth to this team, and that's what they were sort of after. And I know he's on the AFL list and he'd have ambitions to debut there, but I think at a minimum, it just rounds out their Eagles waffle depth nicely. So he was a key contributor on the night, and the Eagles, they would have been disappointed obviously that Friday night game against East Perth, which didn't go their way. They would have been needed to bounce back, which is what they did. And I think that motivation, they wouldn't have had to search too far and wide in that second half based on the previous week.
No doubting that. Kyle Horsley really instilling that message that you've really got to go out there and apply yourself 100% to that contest, and that's exactly what they did. But the opposite can be said for East Fremantle in that second half. They were 2 goals in front at half-time, and then they just fell apart in the end. Just 3 goals. They lost their way around the ground, and they weren't able to get that same proficiency in front of the scoreboard. Smart got 2, Summerall got 2, and Liam Robinson, he was held to just the 1 goal. The Eagles backline really did a job on him.
Yeah, they sure did. And he's been, really good form. He's been a hard player to shut down. So for them to do that the way that they did, they'll be really pleased with that.
Their finals hopes do take a bit of a dent, but we must realise it's still pretty open out there. So East Fremantle can still make the 5, but, they've got to produce efforts a little bit better than that. Obviously, it's a new look lineup, from the outset of the year. They've been dealt bad hands, as Adam Reid said earlier, with injury, but, they've still got a lot of good experience in their side. Marsh 24, Erdley 28, and Oscar Smart, as we mentioned, with a couple of goals, but, the likes of Rankin, Jansen, and Tom Grills, okay, he's only been in the league side for a short time. They're below their best.
Yeah, they'll get better though, and I know it's probably a bit of a long-term approach. And I think probably they're beginning to tire a little bit, East Fremantle, with a young group, like it has obviously getting towards sort of the tougher months of the season in terms of that grind period. And they probably just... as simple as it sounds, didn't play 4 quarters of footy. They couldn't match up what they did in the first quarter beyond that, really, apart from, a couple of goals late.
No, you're exactly right. The West Coast Eagles, they played the better football in the second half and deservedly getting the Chocolates by 39 points at Mineral Resources Park on Friday night. And then Saturday, another indication of how drunk this season has become. Claremont led Peel Thunder by 22 points at half-time. Peel slowly came back in the third quarter, and then After the siren, Aiden Riddle goal to break Claremont hearts and give the Thunder standalone status at the top of the ladder, 8-11-59 to 8-8-56. It may not have been pretty football, but this top-of-the-table clash lived up to every bit of the billing.
Sure did, and devastating for Claremont in the end, and there's those 3 extra behinds which came back to help Peel Thunder in the Aiden Riddle, just showed his maturity and was ice cool with that finish in the end. Okay, it wasn't the toughest kick, but you're still going to be able to execute with that pressure, and what a moment. You don't often see it in WAFL footy, so you've got to celebrate it well and truly when it does.
And what a week he had. Of course, a contract extension earlier in the week, and of course has come up trumps with a valuable goal after the siren as well. They originally went in with 14 Dockers, but of course they went with 13 as a result of the 4 outs we had mentioned with Adam Reid a little earlier. But those replacements, Colton, of course, he stood up, all things considered, only had the 6 disposals, but he got involved in that contest. Wybert was brilliant with 15. Mason Cox, solid with 30 hit-outs, and he had a couple of opportunities in front of goal. One impressive, but for me, the most beneficial was Bailey Banfield. 10 marks, 28 disposals. He got involved in everything.
Yeah, he's been on the outside, obviously, in terms of Fremantle's lineup for some time now, and I think he's such a selfless person, though, like you can see, he really gets around the young players. He's a real mentor for them, and okay, he potentially might be coming towards the end of his AFL career, but that doesn't take away from the team approach that he has, and he's still, a very fine footballer at WAFL level.
And Claremont, without Bailey Rogers, still held a good fight against the Thunder, and their midfield presence again was solid with Elliott 26. He had his best game and 11 tackles as well. And I was very impressed with Zach Main-Waring's first half. He got 4 goals. He was honouring great leads. But the disappointing thing about that was he faded out of the game in the second half. He was goalless throughout the entire second half, courtesy of the hard-working backline led by Hugh Davies, who had 10 marks, most of them intercept. When Claremont tried everything they can to find those avenues to goal, they kept kicking the footy to Main-Waring, but he wasn't really able to generate that open space that he did in the first half.
And Claremont's form's been a bit up and down, hasn't it? They only just got over East Fremantle. They lost to Perth prior to that bye, so...
and West Coast as well.
They're probably not playing as well as they did out at the front half of the year, but obviously they were able to match it with Peel in the end, despite not getting the results. So, they don't want to be peaking too early, so they just got to qualify, and they're still right at the pointy end.
Ideally, they want to be in that top 3, because we've seen Claremont get toward that top 3 and just slip out of it completely. They can't afford to have the same thing again. They qualified in the top 3 last year. They must qualify in the top 3 again if they want to have that big shot at the premiership. At Peel Thunder, we'll try chasing them. They stand alone at the top of the ladder, and deservedly so. Well done to Peel Thunder. And then this was another dramatic finish. Down at Fremantle Oval at 3/4 time, South Fremantle led Subiaco by some 6 goals. And then Subiaco went on the rampage in the last quarter, kicking 7 goals to 0, only to fall short by a point.
Yeah, it was a seesawing game, wasn't it? And back and forth, momentum changes, and in the end, South Fremantle, a sigh of relief more than anything.
I think it's more than just a sigh of relief. I think it's a wake-up call for them. They have not played 4 good quarters of football in a while. What was before today, before that weekend, I should say, their last win after round 6 was round 11 against West Perth, and this was only their 2nd win since that time. I'm still not convinced with South Fremantle's form at the moment, considering that they lost, a really good player in the form of Bletchenden before the match, but they were still able to get it done for 3 quarters. But that last quarter, I don't think Craig White would have been impressed with that last quarter fade out, because they nearly blew the game. Yeah, it was a last quarter fade out, and the week before, there was a half or a third quarter fade out really against Perth. So it's happening far too quickly at the moment. I guess we might have thought they were sort of building a dynasty, which obviously they still can, matters in their own hands. But they're getting challenged a lot more than they did last year, that's for sure. They certainly are, because they've lost about half of their players that were in that premiership last year, some through to retirement, some due to injury, and some through gallivanting through Europe. But, you still have your established players like Floronica with 26 disposals, Hamish Free in the ruck with 27. Good to see him back in prime form. And Matthew Parker, he was that real spark again. That's vintage Parker, okay, whether it be 20 or 30 disposals, but the way he fights in that contest and he applies himself to the contest, that was vintage Matty Parker for at least 3 quarters. Yeah, and he'll only get better. He's only just come back as well, so that synergy and that consistency, he's going to have to take a little bit of time, as anyone would. So, but he got back to some of his best footy, 22 and a goals, you said. Subiaco on the other side, Blight again was exceptional with 20, Corbett with 21, Clark with 12, and had 8 tackles as well. And Richard Bartlett, he's finding himself as that prime small forward. He can really move around that forward line and cause any backline headaches. He was no exception this past weekend with 3 goals. Yeah, back and forth between the reserves and the league.
league for him, but anytime he plays at league, I feel like he almost does better in a way, and he can bob up like he did in quick succession.
And it shows that they can take the fight to the top sides. They can fight with East Perth. They can fight with Perth. They can fight with Claremont, and they can fight with South Fremantle. So those other sides in the top 5, they better have eyes at the back of their head for Subiaco if the Lions make the 5.
Yeah, and I guess they would still be very disappointed with this result, though. Like, they were in a position to win the game, but I feel like positives left, right, and centre still for them. And they're continuing to build. It's just being able to maintain it when they get a run on.
Absolutely. Now we go to the next game at Sullivan Logistics Stadium. No Brayshaw, no Amajuri, no Reagan, no Burgiel, no Stevens, no Wright. No worries for East Perth on Saturday at Sullivan Logistics Stadium, defeating Perth by 51 points, 15-13 to 8-4. And for the Royals, this is reinforcing the status quo that they're still going to mean business at the business end of the season.
It was a dominant performance, and they really just reminded us why they have been in back-to-back grand finals. So, it was just a team mentality, and whoever put that jumper on the end did the job. So, sometimes, the higher profile team you have doesn't necessarily mean you're going to get the job done and create some new opportunities. And the Royals certainly put Perth to the sword, didn't they?
Graham and Schofield, 6 goals between them in an impressive performance, and they had more avenues at goal through Middleton, Scray, and also Tyler Lindbergh. I'll tell you something about Tyler Lindbergh. Since the reserves grand final, where he was best on ground in that win over Claremont, he's elevated his game and has deserved his elevation into that league side. And in the league so far, he's been averaging around 20 disposals, but his pace in the midfield has been nothing short of sensational. He can take those good marks, he can really read the contest so well, and he can be an avenue to goal. So he's one of the more versatile players that East Perth have found in recent years.
But why is he not playing week in, week out? Why is he playing reserves footy? It's one of those things where I know you got to take, I guess, the good with the bad with these X-Factor type players, but off the back of a best on ground performance in the reserves last year, I think he has traits to be at the top level potentially, but consistency, I guess, and body of work is probably another story. But why is he not playing league every week?
That's something that's beyond us, I reckon. We're still being spellbound by that question ourselves. He is a player that deserves to be in that league side week in, week out. And if there was a game where he proved it, this week was the game where he proved it. I mean, you look at it, 25 disposals. It'll be crazy if you don't include him in the league side week in, week out, and as a key part of their final setup if they make it.
He can be a real barometer for this side, I reckon. And, he's still very young as well, so no doubt got some improvement. But, it's just something I've noticed. He isn't in a week in, week out, and I think he should be for his own development.
Yeah, no doubt about that. It gives him more confidence, more miles in the leagues, and, a chance to really establish himself as a prime star in the league. For Perth, meanwhile, Byrne with 27, Dean with 23, but the ball was going down Dean's way a lot. And you look at Constable, 26, Edwards and Harding combined for 50 hit-outs. But, that first half, they were second to the football. They were just knocked around by especially the younger boys at the East Perth side. When you've got more youth in that side, okay, they're filling in for some injured players. That brings in a little more pace and more hunger, and Perth got a lot of experience in that side. They went in with a very tall lineup. Big mistake, I reckon. It might have been lost even before the match when East Perth decided to go noticeably small, pace-orientated lineup, and it did not work for the Demons as far as their setup was concerned.
Yeah, and after such a good win against South Fremantle as well, to sort of take a step back, I feel like even with East Perth as well, these two teams, they take sort of a step forward and then a couple steps back, and it's hard to get a read on where they are truly at in terms of consistency week and week.
It shows that Perth still have a lot of work to do. And if they want to make top 3 this year, they're really going to have to play 4 good quarters of football in the next couple of weeks to really show that they can force themselves into that top 3. But take nothing away from East Perth, they were magnificent. 51 points in the end. And then the final match at HIF Health Insurance Oval, it was Swan Districts victorious by 25 points in what was a fairly decent game of football. 13-13, 91 to 9-12, 66. West Perth held their own to their credit, but it was just class all around for Swan Districts as they beat the Falcons for the second time this year.
They certainly made more of their opportunities, didn't they? The Swans, tough trip it can be, despite West Perth's struggles this year up to Joondalup, but Swan Districts came with the goods in the end. West Perth threatened late, but the pain was piled on a bit too much from a Swans perspective.
Yeah, you're exactly right. I mean, the way they piled on the pain on West Perth was just through their midfield. Hinchcliffe, magnificent. Loftus, he's really developing into a fine player. Turner just doing Jesse Turner things. But Jarvis Pena, since he's come back, he has not missed a beat, Jarvis Pena. 10 marks to go with his 27 disposals. Played more up the middle of the ground rather than his standard role as a half-back flank. But when you put him in the middle, it just adds a little more of a dynamic midfield to the Swans lineup.
Yeah, he's got plenty of energy, doesn't he? And it really comes through in his footy. He is, experienced player. Like, people probably forget he was on Fremantle's list for a year there, and his body just hasn't been able to hold up. So, he's a vital part of this piece, and very versatile as well for a mid-sized player. So, Jarvis Payner, he certainly Found it a bit on Saturday.
I'll tell you what, who also answered those critics, Lee Coleman. 4 goals, his best performance since returning from a long-term injury, 7 marks and 4 goals. Swan Districts need a tall forward to really be that consistent source of scoreboard pressure. Petrick, of course, not playing again, nor is Provis. Stevens down the back line. He can go forward whenever he wants to. But Lee Coleman, when he's at his best, regardless of who he plays, that does make a difference on the scoreboard for Swans.
It does, and when they isolate him one out and they give him good service and he goes back and finishes work, he's a real dangerous player and probably amongst the best forwards when he really is up and going is Lee Coleman. So 34 years of age, obviously not really relying on him too much, but wound back the clock, didn't he?
West Perth on the other side, they still again had their usual suspects, getting a lot of the football. But Keitel was held goalless, but they found a new weapon in Lockie Carpenter. He kicked 3 goals and he's emerged as possibly maybe a forward of the future. Are they trialling him to be that new key full forward whenever Keitel decides to hang him up?
Yeah, it's a bit of a surprising one, isn't it? Like, he's played back in his Colts. He was captain of the Colts, played state 18s last year. We got the late call-up and, a dour defender, but why not? And he was a real surprise packet highlighted by those 3 majors.
Something that you've got to try, if you're Paul Sanzoni and the West Perth coaching staff, nothing wrong with that whatsoever. And the way they, were competitive against Swan Districts, okay, they got outclassed by 25 points. They were second to the football most of the time, but they just never gave up the fight. And that's a credit to West Perth, and that's a positive they can hold their heads high on. But Swan Districts just had too much. Their pace, their skill, their aggression, just magnificent in the end, and they went on to win by 25 points. The ladder, after round 13, where it stands, Peel Thunder stand alone atop the ladder ahead of Claremont, who are a win behind, and then a further win behind are 3 teams, South Fremantle, East Perth and Perth, and a win behind are Subiaco and West Coast, East Fremantle in 8th, Swan Districts 9th, and West Perth just about condemned their first wooden spoon since 1992. Let's go to the votes, Rothy. Of course, time is of the essence, so we're going to run through these ones quickly. Maddie Parker from South Fremantle got 1 vote. Magnificent vintage spark from Maddie Parker in that 1-point win over Subiaco. Jarvis Pena from Swan Districts, he got the 2 votes. Another marvellous performance from him, more as a midfielder rather than his usual role on the half-back line. Tyler Lindbergh, he got the 3 votes. And East Perth selectors, a message to you. Put him in that league side consistently on a weekly basis. He will do you a great job. Bailey Banfield from Peel Thunder, he gets the 4 votes. Just worked overtime in the middle for Peel Thunder in that thrilling win over Claremont. But the top gun this week, he was a stunner on Friday night. Finley McRae from the West Coast Eagles. He gets the 5 votes and a job well done to him. Finley McRae certainly going to be a great servant for the Eagles in the future, no doubt about that. The leaderboard after 13 rounds of competition, this one is still open at this stage because we've got 4 players on double-digit votes. Jack Cleaver leading on 11, Charlie Dean, Angus Scott and Bailey Rogers each on 10. Lockie Tardrew is on 8. Jarvis Pena is back in the top 10 with 7, joining Jeremy Sharp and Brendan Parfitt. And then West Coast pair, Oliver Franku and Finley McRae, each on 6 votes, rounding out the Player of the Year leaderboard. Plays of the week before we go, Rothy, and we'll start off with one that you were involved with. What about the barrel from Luca Boxar and the Colts on Saturday?
On halftime siren as well. Got the 50-metre penalty, and he's a long kick. We know that on the run, but couldn't have belted it any better, and it cleared the fence quite easily. In the end, they got into Swan Districts, and really, you don't want to put it down to that, but I think a lot of momentum into the main break, which ultimately, set the way for the win in the end.
It's those little moments that can make such a big difference as well. The second play is actually a tie, and it's both in the WAFLW. Crystal Petrevsky back to her best, 38 disposals was 1. And then the celebration from one Rachel Ortlop. You love these celebrations, don't you?
Yeah, it's great to see the personality coming out. And as we said, particularly when you can back it up on the field, every right to do that. And we'll wait to see what happens, potentially some more as finals looms.
No doubt about it. But the number one, there's no way we could not select this as number 1. Aiden Riddle from directly in front, big hanger, and then a goal after the siren. It's those moments that instantly lift it to number 1.
Every kid's dream, hey? No matter the level that you do it at. And Aiden Riddle, if he wasn't known before this one, he certainly is going to be now. And ironically, he was drafted out of Claremont as well, so a bit more salt into the wounds for the Tigers on top of the loss.
Yeah, it's a Claremont product, and he kicked the winning goal against his old mob. Sensational stuff. Speaking of sensational, Rothy, great work as always. I'll see you back here next Monday night because we've got a big business end of the WAFL and WAFLW season to get through.
Yeah, pleasure to be back, Paul. And it's creeping around fast the end of the year, but so many more storylines to be written at both levels. So, it's many twists and turns yet to come still.
What game are you doing this week as well?
Got Claremont and South Fremantle in the Colt, which is really a top-of-the-table clash that could be, set the tone. Obviously, grand final rematch from last year, so really looking forward to that. River Fitness Stadium, 8:50 early start on Saturday, and then in the WAFLW, doing the teams I did in the Colts, actually, in the WAFLW, West Perth and Swan Districts as well.
That will be a good couple of games. Look forward to tuning in on that as well. Thanks so much for your company, ladies and gentlemen, on our Monday night recap show. Don't forget you can check us out on our Facebook and Instagram page as well. And don't forget, big preview on Thursday night, and we'll let you know who's going to be joining me this week. Of course, it's all thanks to the fine folks at Front Row Screen Sport, District Promotions, Grants Car Stereo, and Sullivan Logistics. Have a great week. We'll see you on Thursday night.